We all have this picture in our heads of what success is supposed to look like. It's this clean, straight line, a story about talent and big breakthroughs that ends with, a simple, happy ending. But today, we're going to tear that picture up and look at what the journey really looks like, based on all the things most people get wrong. So let's just ask it right up front. How does success actually work? Is it really as neat and tidy as the stories we tell ourselves? Or is it something else entirely? I mean, the popular version of the story is pretty simple, isn't it? We're all told that the most talented person wins. Period. That if you just work hard enough, you're guaranteed to get there. And, of course, that the best idea, the best product will just naturally float to the top. It feels right because it's a nice, simple story. But what if those beliefs, the ones that feel so true, are actually what's holding us back? What if the real map to success looks completely different from the one we've been given? Well, that's exactly what we're about to find out. Okay, first things first. Let's completely rethink this starting line. Because honestly, most of the myths about success get started with how we think great things are supposed to begin. We love talking about talent. It's flashy, it's exciting, and look, talent is great. It gets you noticed, it makes those first few steps feel easy. But talent alone almost never finishes the race. The real winner? It's consistency. It's that quiet, boring ability to just keep showing up, especially when the praise and excitement are long gone. That's what gets you across the finish line. But here's the crazy thing, the hidden trap of talent. If everything has always come easy to you, that first real roadblock doesn't feel like a challenge. It feels like a personal failure. It hits your ego hard and tells you to quit. And while you're reeling, someone less talented but way more stubborn just plows right past you. And this brings us to another tough reality. We all want to believe the best idea wins, but the real world isn't a science fair. People are busy. They're overwhelmed. They don't choose what's objectively best. They choose what's easier to get, what feels safer, and what's already familiar. Just being better is rarely ever enough. And believing that only the best can win, well, that creates a perfection trap. If you're convinced you need a flawless product, you'll spend forever tweaking it, polishing it in secret. And that perfect idea you're waiting to launch, 9 times out of 10, it never even sees the light of day. Okay, so that's the start. But that brings us to the absolute hardest part of any journey, the marathon middle. This is where the initial buzz dies down, and the real, quiet, often lonely work actually begins. Most people leave before it gets good. Just let that sink in for a second. The beginning is fun and exciting, the end is rewarding, but the middle is just awkward and slow. You're putting in a ton of effort, but the results are still tiny, and that's exactly why most people give up. This timeline just captures the illusion perfectly. From the outside, all we ever see is the end, that sudden breakthrough. But what we don't see is that overnight success is almost always built on years of slow, invisible, and awkward work during that long middle phase. So how do you actually survive the middle? Well, the key is to focus on something called compounding work. Think about it like this. Answering emails all day is work that resets to 0 every morning. But building a system that answers those emails for you, that's compounding work. It's effort you put in today that makes tomorrow easier, so you're always starting from a higher place. And that leads to a really critical distinction, the difference between motion and traction. Motion is just being busy. It feels good, right? Redesigning stuff, making new plans. It's kind of self-soothing. But traction is real progress. It's having the guts to ask, is this actually moving us forward? Most of us get stuck in motion because it's way more comfortable than finding out the answer might be no. Let's just be real for a minute. The engine that drives success isn't some big, sexy idea or a vision board. It's the repetitive, unglamorous, totally boring stuff that you have to do day in and day out. In fact, that one task you avoid the most, that's probably the very thing that's going to move the needle. And this is exactly why small wins are so much more powerful than big plans. A big plan is basically just emotional support. It lets you daydream about the finish line without ever taking a step. A small win, though, that's real. That's proof. It's a tiny piece of evidence that you're on the right track. And it builds a foundation on reality, not just wishful thinking. So let's say you do it. You survive the middle. You finally arrive. But the reality of what it's like to make it is almost never what you thought it would be. That version of success you dreamed up at the beginning, It was just a guess. You made it with, like, zero information. The real opportunity isn't about forcing your original plan to work. It's about paying attention to what reality is showing you and having the humility to change course and follow that new, unexpected path. A lot of us have this fantasy that success means a life with no problems. That's probably the biggest myth of them all. Success doesn't get rid of your problems, it just upgrades them. You trade in one set of challenges for a newer, more complex, higher stakes set of problems. Yeah, this table just nails the shift. Before, your problems are all about survival. They're loud, they're obvious, like, how do I pay the bills? Afterwards, the problems get way more subtle. They're about managing pressure, dealing with expectations, and navigating the fact that the stakes are suddenly so much higher. So, with all these myths totally busted, what does a better, more realistic map to success actually look like? Let's put it all together. Here it is in 3 simple steps. First, start messy. Just start. Don't wait for the perfect plan or to feel talented enough. Second, embrace the boring. Learn to love the repetitive, compounding work in the middle, because that's where the foundation gets built. And third, adapt your destination. Be willing to let reality guide you instead of trying to force your original idea. And honestly, this is the key. These are the realities that 99% of people just don't get. Simply knowing this stuff gives you a completely different and more powerful way to look at your own journey. I want to leave you with this one really powerful idea. It is so easy to overcomplicate things, to search for some secret, brilliant strategy. But so often, success is just about having the discipline to keep playing the simple, effective, maybe even dumb game that's right in front of you. So, the final question is for you to think about. What's the simple, repetitive, maybe even boring action in your own life that is already working if you just had the discipline to stick with it? Really think about that, because the answer might be the most direct path you've got.